according to the rule, the majority has the word. The majority suffers evil as a result, then the creation of evil is evil. And it may even be said that the sending of prophets is not a mercy. Is that not so? The answer: quantity has no importance in relation to quality. The true majority looks to quality. For example, if there are 100 seeds of the date palm, and they are not put beneath the earth and watered, and so do not undergo a chemical reaction and manifest a struggle for life, they are only nothing. But if they are watered and are subject to the struggle for life, and then 80 out of the 100 rot due to their faulty makeup, but 20 become fruit-bearing trees, can you say watering them was evil because most of them rotted? Of course, you cannot say that, for that 20 have become like 20,000. One who loses 80 and gains 20,000 suffers no harm, and it cannot be evil. And for example, or maybe you can continue.
Oh, okay. How do you read that?
Peahen. It's like the peacock hen. Peahen.
And for example, a peahen lays 100 eggs, and they are worth 500 kurush. If the hen sits on the 100 eggs, and 80 are spoiled, and 20 hatch into peacocks, can it be said that there was a high loss and the affair was evil? That it was bad to put the broody hen on the eggs and an evil occurred? No, it is not thus. It is rather a good. For the peacock species, an egg family lost 80 eggs worth 400 kurush, but gained 20 peacocks worth 80 liras. Thus, through the sending of prophets and the mystery of man's accountability, and through striving and fighting with Satan's, in return for the hundreds of thousands of prophets and millions of saints, and thousands of millions of purified scholars they have gained, who are like the suns, moons, and stars of the world of humanity, mankind has lost the unbelievers and dissemblers, who are numerous in regard to quantity, insignificant in regard to quality, and like harmful beasts. Third question. Almighty God sends calamities and inflicts tribulations. Is this not tyrannical towards the innocent in particular, and animals even? And the answer: God forbid. The sovereignty is His. He holds sway over His possessions as He wishes. Moreover, a skillful craftsman makes you a model in return for a wage, and dresses you in a bejeweled garment that he has most artificially fashioned. Then, in order to display his art and skill, he shortens it and lengthens it, measures it and trims it, and he makes you sit down and stand up. Are you able to say to him, "You have made the garment which made me beautiful ugly, you have caused me trouble, making me sit down and stand up"? Of course you cannot say that. If you did say it, you would be crazy. In just the same way, the all-glorious Maker has clothed you in a most artistically wrought, being bejeweled with faculties like the eye, the ear, and the tongue. In order to display the embroideries of various of His names, He makes you ill. He afflicts you with tribulations. He makes you hungry. He fills you. He makes you thirsty. He makes you evolve in states like these. In order to strengthen the essence of life and display the manifestation of His names, He makes you journey in numerous such conditions. If you say, "Why do you inflict these calamities on me?" as is indicated in the comparison, 100 instances of wisdom will silence you. In any event, calm, repose, idleness, monotony, and a rest from action are forms of non-existence and harm. Action and change are existence and good. Life finds its perfection through action. It progresses by means of tribulations. Life manifests various actions through the manifestation of the divine names. It is purified, finds strength. It unfolds and expands. It becomes a mobile pen to write its own appointed course. It performs its duty, and acquires the right to receive reward in the hereafter. Thus, the answers to the 3 questions in your dispute are briefly these. Explanations of them are to be found in the 33 words. My dear brother, read this letter to the chemist and to those who heard the argument whom you think suitable. and convey my greetings to my new student, the chemist, and tell him the following. It is not permissible to discuss subtle matters of belief like those above in a social gathering in the form of an unbalanced dispute. As an uncontrolled contest, while being a panacea, it becomes a poison. It is harmful for both those who speak and those who listen. It is permissible to discuss such matters moderately and fairly as the exchange of ideas. And tell him, if doubts occur to you about matters of this sort and you cannot find the answer in the words, then write to me privately. And tell the chemist, the following meaning occurred to me concerning the dream he had about his late father. Since his late father was a doctor, perhaps he had been of benefit to some of those close to God. And at the time of his death, the spirits of those blessed people who had been gratified by him were seen by the one closest to him, his son, in the form of birds. It occurred to me that they came to meet him with a sort of welcoming that would be intercession for his spirit. I send greetings to all the friends who were together here that night, and I pray for them. The enduring one, he is the enduring one, said Nursi.
The first, if you ask this part, maybe we can start our discussion from that part. In the morning we discussed that part, huh? So he's comparing the quantity and quality. So quality is prevailing to the quantity. The true majority looks to the quality. So the conclusion sentence, the Ustad says, the sending of the prophets, the mystery of man's accountability. So with shaitan, with the help of shaitan, we can say, 100,000 prophets, they achieved to the highest point of being a human being, to the excellent patterns of the humanity Allah has created us. So shaitan helps us with struggling with him, with striving not to follow him. So we are gaining this.
Should we thank shaitan?
Of course, we are thanking to Allah that He has created us in this most excellent of patterns, and shaitan is helping us not to follow him. We are struggling, and
shaitan is helping. The existence of shaitan is helping.
Maybe
it's a hardship, but it's experience. It's a good hardship. It's a test. It's knowledge, not.
I mean, it doesn't absolve shaitan from his crimes,
intentions,
and his lowly level, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, what he ends up causing is good, but his intentions and his actions are not. But so it doesn't absolve him from responsibility. Same thing for humans too, probably, right? What you cause, what ends up happening could be good, and that's created by Allah, and the overall creation ends up being excellent, good. But whoever perpetrated that action, that good result doesn't absolve him from crime and his action. Yeah, I mean, this was just like aside, because you use like help, so shaitan helps us.
Metaphorically.
Okay.
Maybe enables us.
Maybe, enables us. It's creation.
I mean, idiomatically speaking, if we play the devil's advocate here, there is a difference between date palm trees and human beings. Like when date palm trees rot, they disappear, they dissolve into soil and so on. So when humans rot in this sense, they go to hell and they are tormented in hell. So how do we resolve that? Humans are not just dissolving into something. They are conscious, and their consciousness is continuing, and they are being tormented in hell.
That's the example, the seed example, huh? same
But I guess,
for the peacock.
yeah, I mean that is probably an issue of distinction between like or the what is worse, non-existence versus hellfire.
Yeah.
I mean, compare it probably on a deeper level, non-existence might prove to be worse.
We should read the 11th or 8th topic, so it's another.
Yeah, I mean that might become another discussion topic,
Yeah,
right?
the topic
So I mean,
is-
for date palm, again, you know, it's not absolute non-existence even for date palms, right? Like the date palm enters, exits from the realm of
Plants.
facts and
Plants.
Hmm?
Exits the realm of plants, enters the realm of minerals.
Yeah, and like the realm of ilm, the realm of knowledge as well, right? From the realm of existence to realm of knowledge of Allah. So it still has some existence in that sense. But that's another. I mean, but I guess we can discuss that. Like, is hellfire the worst possible thing that can happen to a person if you compare to non-existence, or is it still a mercy because they are still not dying? So that might be another, I guess.
Yeah.
thing.
So in the 23rd word mentioning the similarity, the seed and the human being. Human beings are a seed.
Shall we read it or shall we?
Open. Yeah, as he asked, Mustafa asked. Similarity.
That's right. That's correct.
I think the comparison is our life in this world is like the seed. Rots, as in the example, and becomes soil, it looks like going to hell. I mean, otherwise, if it grows a date palm, it becomes a beautiful tree, right?
Yeah.
If we do what we are supposed to do in this life, then we will have that tree in the afterlife. Everybody will have a Jannah, paradise as big as this world, which is stated in Hadith. So I mean that's the tree. The ones going to hell, even though they have the existence, like the seed have the existence in the soil. I mean, it becomes like elements or compost. It still has a kind of existence, but I mean it's
Not valuable.
yeah, you cannot compare it to the existence of the other seed which became a tree. One of them is going to hell, just getting tormented. The other one who uses his faculties and all emotions and whatever he has in this world in the good way, and then goes to paradise, will have all those faculties and senses and everything in a much better way.
And I guess it is also, I don't know, to me, it looks like because example of a seed and a date palm, it is not only like hereafter or paradise is not only about getting pleasures or things like that. It is also about those, as you said, those skills, those faculties being, flourished and coming to such a sense that it would be able to observe Allah's creation in such a way that, or to worship Him, because there is still some worship. It's not required, but some worship in Jannah, right? So it becomes, so those faculties improve so much that the human being becomes a superhuman in a sense, the faculties wise, the ability to worship, the way the person can now observe the creation and make tasbih based on that, and those abilities apparently going to, because the difference between seed and a tree is huge. So maybe seeing the paradise only as a pleasure place, pleasure land, is may not be enough. It is also these, faculties of human beings being so much higher and meaning so much more than.
And both of them, like both the egg and the seed, they both have the DNA of the peacock or the date palm.
Yeah.
But one of them grows, the other doesn't grow. That's like.
As an ability, it
Yeah,
stays.
ability. Yeah, it's there, but when it rots, it's gone. But if it grows, like one egg becomes a peacock, the other becomes a rotten egg. I mean, you can't. Like the seed is the same. One seed becomes a tree, the other becomes a soil. Because it didn't use those programming in it.
We read the
Third?
23rd word.
Yeah, if you want, it's. I think that part is related with transforming or transient, abilities to the eternal realm, or rotting them.
So I'll take from the beginning of the remark, not straight from the part that talks about that. Second remark is 23rd word, second chapter, second remark. Man has two faces. One concerning his ego, looks to the life of this world. Concerning his ego that looks to the life of this world. The other concerning worship and servitude to God, and it looks to eternal life. In respect to the first face, he is a wretched creature whose capital consists only of the following. Of will, he has only a partial power of choice, like a hair. So small, so thin. Of power, a weak ability to acquire. Of life, a fast-dying flame. Of a lifespan, a fleeting brief spell. And of being, a swiftly decaying small body. Together with this, he is one delicate, weak individual out of the innumerable individuals of the numberless varieties of beings dispersed through the levels of the universe. In respect of the second face, and especially his impotence and poverty, which are turned towards worship, man has truly great breadth and vast importance. For the all-wise Creator has included in man's nature an infinitely vast impotence and boundlessly huge poverty, so that man can be an extensive mirror containing the innumerable manifestations of an all-powerful and compassionate one, whose power is infinite, and all-generous, all-rich one, whose wealth is boundless. Indeed, man resembles a seed. This seed has been given significant immaterial members, that's manevi, ehemmiyetli cihazat. So, this seed has been given significant metaphysical instruments by divine power, and a subtle valuable program by divine determining, so that it may work beneath the ground, and emerging from that narrow world, enter the broad world of the air, and asking its Creator with the tongue of its disposition to be a tree, with a perfection worthy of it. If, due to bad temperament, the seed uses the immaterial members, the metaphysical instruments given to it, in attracting certain harmful substances under the ground, in a short time it will rot and decay in that narrow place without benefit. But if the seed conforms to the creational command of God is the splitter of the seed grain and date stone, and employs well those immaterial members, that's a verse, فَالِقُ الْحَبِّ وَالنَّوَى, and employs well those immaterial members, it will emerge from that narrow world, and through becoming a large fruit-bearing tree, its tiny particular reality and its spirit will take on the form of an extensive universal reality. Similarly, metaphysical instruments and valuable programs have been deposited in man's nature by divine power and determining. If man uses those metaphysical instruments on the desires of his soul and on minor pleasures under the soil of worldly life in the narrow confines of this earthly world, he will decay and decompose in the midst of difficulties in a brief life in a constricted place like the rotted seed, and load the responsibility on his unfortunate spirit, then depart from this world. If, however, he nurtures the seed of his abilities with the water of Islam and light of belief under the soil of worship and servitude to God, if he conforms to the commands of the Qur'an, and if he turns his faculties towards their true aims, they will produce branches and buds in the world of similitudes, al-malakut, and the intermediate realm. He will be a seed of great value and a shining machine containing the members of an everlasting tree and permanent truth, which will be the means to innumerable perfections and bounties in paradise, and he will be a blessed and luminous fruit of the tree of the universe.
We can continue the third question.
I would also say this is obviously a comparison, and we don't look for, this obviously is a comparison. We don't look for perfect matching in the comparison. But in relation to seeming like my conscience still is a bit bothered by this. And the seed is dissolving, but man goes to hell, and it doesn't look like the same thing. While the part of the human being and the seed that's not the same is that the human being has willpower, a partial human will, choice, right? The seed is not decaying by choice. Humans are decaying or going to hell by choice. So the justice is still established there.
Another thing maybe in this point, like potentialities that are in the human nature, like he is supposed to like grow them, right, to the expected point. That's the responsibility, or that's the things that expected from a human being. And if he doesn't do it, that's a responsibility that should be punished. Have like consequences. Why he is getting punished, because he has the duty and he didn't do it and he deserved the punishment. But for the seed, yes, it has the potentiality. It's supposed to be a well-grown tree, but if it didn't, then it is rotten and gone.
It did not choose to be rotten.
Yeah.
That's
the case. But for human being, in this world, if they don't nurture or grow that potentialities, then again, like they're like a seed in this world. They don't grow their potentialities or unaware of that, and they don't use. They are in this sense no different than animals. In the hereafter, that brings the punishment, the consequences. They have the duty and they have the responsibility.
Anything to add?
At the moment, it's very said. It's true, although an analogy can be drawn between human soul and a seed. Like he said, seeds go with nature. They are more passive. They don't really have a choice. However, as humans, although we have DNA and the seed has DNA, as mentioned, we both have DNA. We have that willpower that we can choose whether to utilize that God-given DNA to reach our full potential, whereas a seed, if it cannot use the DNA, if the conditions are not right, then it just cannot. Whereas we, even through multiple hardships and tribunals, we can still utilize our potential, we can still utilize our energy, we can still push through and use our DNA and learn from such tribunals to better ourselves as a human.
Our conditions, right? Unlike the seeds, we can like the soil of worship, under the soil of worship, the water of Islam. So our conditions are worship, Islam, Iman, belief. We can get those conditions right, and we can choose to get those conditions right.
We can choose how to respond to our conditions.
And how to respond to those conditions.
Yeah, pass to the third question. It is also an important question. I'll read the question again. Meta, do you want to read the question and the answer? And we can maybe go sentence by sentence, huh? Inshallah.
13.
12th letter,
12th
third
letter,
question.
third question. Page 64.
64. Third question. Almighty God sends calamities and inflicts tribulations. Is this not tyrannical towards the innocent in particular, and animals even? Almighty God sends calamities and inflicts tribulations. Is this not tyrannical towards the innocent in particular, and animals even? The answer: God forbid. The sovereignty is His. He holds sway over His possessions as He wishes. Moreover,
So this part in 24th letter, very deeply, Ustad is explaining. His is the sovereign. He does whatever he wishes. مالك الملك يتصرف في ملكه كيف يشاء. So his is the whole creation. So he is the creator. But in the morning maybe we discussed the justice, huh? Now he questioning the justice.
Shall we first read and finish the
We read first.
second one?
Yeah, we are reading the second.
Great.
Yeah.
This is the
Give away myself.
This is the second time, right? You read once.
Continue.
so this question is most even Christians think, where is God? When they see like
The injustices.
kind of earthquakes and other things, and even in Muslims. Moreover, a skillful craftsman makes you a model in return for a wage, and dresses you in a bejeweled garment that he has most artistically fashioned. Then, in order to display his art and skill, he shortens it and lengthens it, measures it and trims it, and he makes you sit down and stand up. Are you able to say to him, "You have made the garment which made me beautiful ugly. You have caused me trouble, making me sit down and stand up"? Of course you cannot say that. If you did say it, you would be crazy. In just the same way, the all-glorious Maker has clothed you in a most artistically wrought being, bejeweled with faculties like the eye, the ear, and the tongue. In order to display the embroideries of various of His names, He makes you ill. He afflicts you with tribulations. He makes you hungry. He fills you. He makes you thirsty. He makes you revolve in states like these. In order to strengthen the essence of life and display the manifestation of his names, he makes you journey in numerous such conditions. If you say, "Why do you inflict these calamities on me?" As is indicated in the comparison, 100 instances of wisdom will silence you. In any event, calm, repose, idleness, monotony, and arrest from action are forms of non-existence and harm. In any event, calm, repose, idleness, monotony. What's idleness?
Atalet,
Not moving.
being idle, without any, having nothing to do.
No act, no action.
And
No,
lay,
I see. Yeah.
we consider layabout the person who is idle.
In any event, calm, repose, idleness, monotony, and rest from actions are forms of non-existence and harm. Action and change are existence and good. Life finds its perfection through action. It progresses by means of tribulations. Life manifests various actions through the manifestation of the divine names. It is purified, finds strength, it unfolds and expands. It becomes a mobile pen to write its own appointed course. It performs its duty and acquires the right to receive reward in the hereafter. Thus, the answers to the three questions in your dispute is briefly this. Explanations of them are to be found in the 33 words. My dear brother, read this letter to the chemists and to those who heard the argument whom you think suitable. And convey my great greetings to my new student, the chemist, and tell him the following. It is not permissible to discuss subtle matters of belief like those above in a social gathering in the form of an unbalanced dispute. As an uncontrolled contest, while being a panacea, it becomes a poison. It is harmful for both those who speak and those who listen. It is permissible to discuss such matters moderately and fairly as an exchange of ideas. And tell him, if doubts occur to you in matters of this sort and you cannot find the answer in the words, then write to me privately. And tell the chemist.
So we can, maybe any question comes to the mind. Discuss.
You can write to stuff. And the question comes and when it up, you can write to stuff. Private.
Yeah, you can write this if you like.
Tell him to write me.
But if you don't find in the words.
Yes.
The requirement is that.
It's easy to write.
You were going to say something at the beginning, the moreover as skillful craftsman. You were going to say something there. And then we said, let's
No,
see.
I wanted to focus that part, the very beginning sentence. So if you have any Tapila, would you like to?
So there is a new student and there is a chemist, right? Two different
Chemist is
persons.
the new student. Chemist is the new student.
Actually, a
chemist is
pharmacist, but it's translated.
In the oral tradition, what's chemist?
My new student, the chemist.
Modern
Used to be same.
I see.
Pharmacist, huh? It is not chemist. Pharmacist.
They call them chemists,
Exactly.
but they're those who work
All
with
times
medicinal
Yeah.
properties.
In the
Yeah, I
past,
get it.
they would do it.
The chemist the one asking the question, or
Yeah.
Yes.
that's the one asking the question?
Actually, I think they discussed this matter
They
with
argued.
this and Ustad didn't answer
Oh,
that time because they were discussing in public
oh, okay.
because
And then
everybody
it could dispute.
wouldn't understand some of the subtle things in the matter. So
It was a discussion, it
Yeah,
was argument.
privately. Argument, yeah.
Dispute.
Also another, I guess, lesson there, right? That's also another lesson, like
Yeah, it's a very important
discussing these in a heated type of a debate type of a forum is not really beneficial. Because sometimes that happens, right? And that's not really because you kind of stick to your position. And, you know, these type of matters should be like calmly exchange of ideas. It says instead of to learn, yeah, not to
prove something.
win, yeah. Yeah. But then for the story of craftsman and skillful craftsman and hires a model, so like how can we like compare this point to human beings? Like what is our wage, for example? Like is being given having life, is that our wage of being the model, or how can we understand it?
In the 24th word, letter mentioning this, you have got your wage. Allah, you were nothing. Allah has given you an existence. You didn't become an among the inanimate beings. You became a living being.
Should we read it actually? Should we read it?
If you want, why not? That part is the very beginning is maybe easy to understand. The rest is maybe difficult.
James, right?
Yeah. Fourth letter.
It's page 337.
Fourth letter.
337. 337.
Yes.
It's almost the same question, right? I'm not the same question.
Longer explanation.
The question is 1/2 page. You can read the answer directly
Very interesting part. That's
in exactly the same way. 338 7. 337. Study is mentioning the same comparison, the model
Should we read
comparison.
from the beginning, or should we read from the beginning or from the middle?
It's very long question.
yeah,
Maybe.
it's just
Very long
Just
question.
read the side.
yeah.
In exactly the same.
Okay, this one. First station, this consists of 5 cents, first slide. As is described at the end of the 26th word, when making a precious, bejeweled and embroidered garment, a skillful craftsman employs a poor man in return for a commensurate wage. In order to display his skill in art, he dresses the poor man in the garment, then measures it and cuts it and lengthens and shortens it. And making the man sit down and stand up, he gives it various forms. So does the wretched man have the right to say to the craftsman, "Why are you interfering with this garment which makes me beautiful?" and altering it and altering and changing it? Why are you making me stand up and sit down, disturbing me and causing me trouble? In exactly the same way, in order to display the perfections of his art through the embroideries of his names, the all-glorious Maker takes the essential nature of every sort of being as a model, and then he clothes them all, and especially living creatures, in the garment of a body bejeweled with senses, and inscribes it with the pen of divine decree and determining, qadar, thus demonstrating the manifestation of his names. In addition, he gives to every being a perfection, a pleasure, and effulgence in a way suitable to it and as a wage. Has then anything the right to say to the all-glorious Maker, who manifests the meaning of the Lord of all dominion, has free disposal over his realms as he wishes? You are giving me trouble and disturbing me. God forbid, in no way do beings have any rights before the necessarily existent one, nor can they claim them. Their right is to carry out through offering thanks and praise what is required by the degree of existence he has given them. For all the degrees of existence that are given are occurrences, and each requires a cause. Degrees which are not given are possibilities, and possibilities are non-existent, as well as being infinite. As for instances of non-existence, they do not require a cause. For example, minerals cannot say, "Why weren't we plants?" They cannot complain. Their right, since they have received mineral existence, is to offer thanks to their Creator. And plants may not complain, asking why they were not animals. Their right is to offer thanks, since they have received life as well as existence. As for animals, they may not complain that they are not humans. The right over them, rather, since they have been given the precious substance of spirit, in addition to life and existence, is to offer thanks, and so on. O complaining man, you did not remain non-existent. You were clothed in the bounty of existence. You tasted life. You did not remain inanimate, nor become an animal. You received the bounty of Islam. You did not remain in misguidance. You have experienced the bounties of good health and well-being. O ungrateful one, where did you win the right not to offer thanks in return for the degrees of existence which Almighty God has given you, and are pure bounty? How is it that, because exalted bounties which are contingencies and non-existent, and which you do not deserve, have not been given you, you complain about Almighty Allah with meaningless greed, ungrateful for the bounties you have received? If a man rises to an exalted degree by climbing to the top of a minaret, and finds a high station, and on every step receives a large bounty, then does not thank the one who gave him the bounties, and complainingly asks why he could not have risen higher than the minaret, how wrong he would be. What an ungrateful denial of the bounties. What great foolishness it would be, as even a lunatic would understand. O disconnected, greedy, thriftless, wasteful, unjustly complaining, heedless man. Know certainly that contentment is profitable thanks. Greed is loss-causing ingratitude, and frugality, fine and beneficial respect for bounties. As for wastefulness, it is ugly and harmful contempt for bounties. If you have intelligence, grow accustomed to contentment and try to be satisfied with little. If you cannot endure it, say, O most patient one, and seek patience. Be satisfied with your lot and do not complain. Understand who is complaining about whom and be silent. If you have to complain, then complain about your soul to God Almighty, for the fault is its. Which is pretty substantial.
Yeah. Why people they consider this is injustice, being treated as unjustly we are given all these difficulties, or people are dying somewhere because of wars and such things. They consider themselves as owner of the bounties are given. Yeah, the given bounties they consider as if they have a right to be given. They own the bounties of Allah. When Allah is taking them back, they are screaming, they are claiming why it is taken. So
I get from this example and connecting that is the example is about, it's a garment, right? It's nothing really substantial, that human being that you're doing. So maybe also one reason that we see these calamities and stuff as so horrifying, so bad, is that we see them as the worst thing that can happen to me, all right? Like, I mean, these things, because it is in the realm of transient world that is passing already, I guess by definition is like this clothes being altered and things like that, rather than a limb cut off or things like that. I mean, we see those calamities because I guess we, again, through heedlessness, I guess we see this world to be unending. We see this world to be our final destination. We see that calamities happening to us as if like this, a limb taken off rather than the clothes being altered. So I guess in that sense, we kind of give more or undeserved attention to some of these calamities that are happening to us in this world of life, to a level that we start complaining. But I guess in essence, there's also like a lesson to me here that what calamities that we are experiencing, all these creatures are experiencing, is not really a level of calamity that we think they are. It is as if our clothes are being altered. It's also what I got from this. I don't know if that's correct or not.
A calamity if you don't use you don't have the right perspective to transfer it into the hereafter as eternal reward. Right? Then that's the real calamity. But that can happen with blessings too. If you don't use the blessings that are given to you with the right perspective to transfer into the hereafter to become eternal blessing, that's a calamity too. That's like but if you are in a state of calamity and you meet it with patience and with good opinion of your Lord, you transfer it into the hereafter as eternal blessing, it's a blessing. You receive blessings and you met it with gratitude and with worshipping your Lord, you transfer it into the hereafter as an eternal blessing, and it's a blessing.
We apply that to this example of this model, I guess, right? Like the complaining about those altering of the clothes. He could, lose the job pretty much, right? And if he continues complaining about that, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Like, I hired you for being a model, right? The other way around, right? Like, oh, that is beautiful. Look how beautiful I am, or how awesome I am now, and starts bragging about that based on the art of that craftsman. Again, he takes unjustly some ownership of that thing to himself, and wouldn't shut up about that. And then again he could lose his job. I mean, it is, you can make both a good thing and a bad thing. It's all, I guess, an exam at the end of the day.
It's enough to be chosen by that artist, or by the Lord, by the craftsman, or by the Lord. It's enough to be chosen by Him to become the model on which he's showing all of these and trying all of these things. Like that being chosen is enough. That's where life comes in, right? We are chosen. We are not in the level at the level of minerals. We are not at the level of plants. We are not at the level of animals. We are given life, and we are also given consciousness. And with all of those, we are chosen as the model to display His manifestations. And that's, it's not only that, but if we meet this with the necessary gratitude and patience, He's also going to reward us in the hereafter for being a good model in displaying His art.
There's a statement here I want to ask a question about it. I think it's related to what you said. An event, calm, repose, idleness, monotony, and arrest from action are forms of non-existence. Whereas Adam, non-existence, and harm. Action and change are existence and good. Life finds its perfection through action, it progress by means of tribulation. Life manifests various actions through the manifestation of the divine names. It is purified, finds strength, it unfolds and expands, becomes a mobile pen to write its own appointed course. It performs its duty and acquires the right to receive reward in the hereafter. So it goes with eternity. So Ustad puts it both sides like two poles. One is Adam, non-existence, so it is pure evil. You have nothing, no existence. This is pure evil, and at the other side, wujub, which is kind of an existence, right? You come to existence, so this is pure good, considering to Adam. So the states that we are, in is kind of going between these two poles. In order to understand it, I guess we need to first establish that understanding. This Adam is pure evil, non-existence, and wujub, coming into existence, is good. So sometimes, we can hear questions. Oh, why did He create me? Did He ask me? But in psychology, this is a kind of, you're not in your senses. If you're a healthy person, you'll never be, asking to die or go into non-existence. People always, even though it is a hard life, like kind of you're going through something, when you come to your senses, still you want to be alive. You don't want to kill yourself, or you don't want to commit suicide. If you are in that state, you are not in your senses. You need some counseling or taking care. So if you understand this, then he's talking about some states in between. For example, repose, idleness, monotony. It is kind of close to this non-existence. So you're not really acting. You're just idle, stable there. For example, sometimes we get so tired we wanna rest. Most of the time, if you go to a vacation or you just change your action, it is more refreshing. Otherwise, you don't want to just sleep for days. For example, sometimes guy has a broken arm. You don't move it for 30 days. It's just stick here. You don't say, "Oh, Alhamdulillah, I'm resting my arm. I don't get tired." Right? You want to move. You want action. After you get tired, it is rewarding to have some rest. Maybe.
Putting people to prison is like it's a punishment, right? Like keeping people in a confined space is one of the biggest punishments that people can give to one another.
Action and change are existence and good. Life finds its perfection through action. It progresses by means of tribulations. Life manifests various actions through the manifestation of divine names. It is purified, finds strength, it unfolds and expands. So, we have some daily sayings like, without hardship, there's no progress, no pain, no gain, right? Type of statement. So, there's a reality in it. So Allah put it in our nature, in our fitra, so we just feel it. When you're doing something, achieving something, you're struggling, even though you have some little pain, some little sweating, but still when you achieve those things, what you're running for, it gives you a pleasure and a feeling of a reward that shows that now you bring something into action or existence. It's not like create and you're not bringing from non-existence, but it's kind of whatever Allah gave you, you brought them together, and now you have something coming to existence. It is in itself rewarding, and it's kind of those challenges, struggles, difficulties that I faced on the way. It's kind of refining my life, and I'm fulfilling the purpose of my life. I'm not just staying there, idle. So I guess some of the it is not an exact meaning, but they also say if it doesn't kill you, it strengthens you, right? So I guess there is a reward, after that. A couple of chapters, Ustad talks about this extensively, like the message for the sick. Even he says getting sick could be rewarding sometimes, or
mentioning some of the brothers, Abis, their one day passing with illness will be equal to maybe 1 year. If he uses with patience or with shukr, they can gain maybe very.
I was going to ask a question, but I
Answered.
maybe shared what was in my mind. Maybe you might have some further reflection on that, but it's very interesting. How come this pure evil and pure good? It's a very interesting concept for me to understand and to make it a life choice in a way.
I think it's kind of indicative that the 24th letter, the second part we read, the longer explanation about this subject, right? It's in the 24th letter, in the first station of the 24th letter, and the second station of the 24th letter, when you move on, is about shu'unat, right? And shu'unat is very difficult to translate, but it's about the continuous manifestation of God's names on the creation, for which you need life and continuity, right? And ultimately, man's happiness is in witnessing and manifesting his Lord's attributes. That's the ultimate, function, role, and where we find our happiness. And through life, through going through stages and stages and stages with the change and action, right, we manifest and witness more and more of God's names and attributes.
There's in the 18th letter there is a question. Well, it's very short, but in the 24th letter it is broadened and explained very. What's the reason for wisdom in the astonishing, unceasing activity in the universe? Why do these fleeting beings not stop, but continuously revolve and are renewed? There is a continuous action in the universe. Allah is creating, sending them to His ilm at the same time, creating again. Every second there is creation. So what's the wisdom behind it? So it's not very deep. Says every day in the Rahman Surah Rahman, every day in new splendor does He shine. Indeed, your sustainer is doer or what He will.
لما يريد. The second one is فعال لما يريد. And فعال is not just to do, but to do again and again
Yeah,
with
it is a
insistence
continuous
and
activity.
emphasis.
Yeah.
Does shu not come from Shan?
Shine is in the bracket, so
Original Arabic.
Yeah, yes, it is.
here and just an explanation.
شعون is the plural of شأن, but then it's made double plural in using Turkish.
This is shine brightness. The questions finished for the 12th letter. Anything to add? Ismail, he was going to add something, but yeah.
Remind me, I will add, inshallah.
Smile.
I was saying that. Shall I say? No.
Say, why not? If you share with Mustafa, you can
It
share with
seems more fun over there, like they are always laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, we always very serious.
Sometimes try that.
In the morning was I thought. Our discussion is very serious.
Who is boring in here? Mustafa, is that you?
Probably.
There you go.
So can we say that
No, it's my Qur'an.
He's changing the topic. He's changing, I know it.
I have a question.
do you have a question?
After you.
I just tried to wrap up what Mustafa said, and you just read. And so we are here in a way to know Allah, God, and to make Him known. So we are kind of also manifesting His names on us, the creation, right? Manifests His names and make Him known. Wait. So the more we fulfill that aim, the more we get a reward out of it, or we fulfill our aim of creation, rewarded. That's what I got from you said.
But this is not the kind of pleasure that we get from, say, eating a sweet, delicious food, right? This is a kind of reward that we can taste with faith.
Yeah.
Without faith, we cannot taste it.
But I would include, but yeah, for human beings, I agree. But still, there's like this action thing. Ustad even gives the example of animals and plants. Kind of you can see that animal running for its duty, whatever it's created for. Honey bee makes the honey, or cow makes the milk. Cow goes out there, eats from dawn to dusk, the same thing, grass, doesn't say, that's like eats it as like a, she's eating a kebab or something, it's very pleasurable for the cow. So Allah put that, inside. So whatever their duty is, they're manifesting something, about, for example, there maybe you see the name of Razak, Allah just gives the sustenance with the hands of that simple animals to us. But when they fulfill their duty, Allah just put that immediate reward too in that action itself. So whoever just fulfills that perfection, kamalat, in a way that the immediate reward is in it. But of course, with the level of iman, faith, the more you understand all those things, human being may have the most.
Maybe I should correct myself. You feel it with faith. You feel it in things that otherwise appear to be unpleasant too, in calamities too, in like in boredom, like things that appear to be boring too.
Unbeliever even can feel that the
Yeah.
pleasure in action.
The reward for the gratitude of consuming the blessings are put in the blessings too. And because of that, the appetite for the blessings itself is a form of gratitude, like shukr.
Why that I like this. In a way, you're saying thank you with your state, body, state of your body.
Even the cow's appetite for the grass is a form of
Natural
gratitude.
things,
Yeah.
My question was in the last paragraph, Ustad forbids to discuss these topics. Social gathering.
Debate form.
What's social gathering right now? Isn't it social gathering?
The form of quarrel, huh? Without any balance.
Yeah, that
He says
out of control.
unbalanced dispute. I guess that is the form. So if it is more like back and forth, used as a debating or like that is more like emotional, that type of a setting is
dispute.
Yeah, more like a dispute. It's not really. And it doesn't teach you. I guess that's probably.
Harmony. You mentioned.
Morning we talk about it.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, he gives some principles, which I guess very important because when you involve your feelings into action, sometimes you're not very balanced. So our intention should be very pure and sincere, just to find the truth. If you go into like, oh, I am right, this is wrong, or kind of, other feelings, it might take us out of the path. And I will not benefit. Maybe when the brother said social gathering, you might be maybe looking for the right environment too. If discussing, something vulnerable or something might be misunderstood by some people and cause reaction, maybe you might be looking for a better place to. Especially these are fundamental matters that we are looking for the aim of our creation, why we are here, where we are going from. So we don't want to hurt people's feelings and just keep them away from this nur light, which will illuminate his own whole life.
Find the right environment.
Sure.
Discuss.
For worldly things, you have a little benefit. Let's say, business environment. You just think about the right moment, the right attitude, way of saying it. So you should get the best result. Maybe you will just increase your profit 3% or so. I don't know what you are just trying to achieve. So that, in this fundamental things, which is worth the whole life. We are learning about the purpose of our lives, and we are here for this. This makes us a real human being. We should be even more careful, I guess, while handling this. So not to keep away anybody from this truth.
Also, these are, it's not about anything, but controversial issues that, if not understood in the right way, may cause someone's faith, or put someone in the wrong attitude toward his Lord, and put this person in way of sinning, in way of harm. So the sensitivity of the issue is also something to take into consideration. In a social gathering, you don't know who is there, who is not there. What the level of the understanding of the person in the room is. Right here, everybody came with a certain intention to understand certain things, and we are reading the text and so on and so forth. But I don't know, imagine this at the airport, and you and I were discussing something, and people gathered around us and they are listening, and you don't know who is there. You don't know what they are going to take away.
One example that came to my mind, for example, in the chapter about sincerity, it says everything you said should be true, right? You can't lie. As a Muslim, we cannot lie, right? Everything it should be correct, but you shouldn't say everything right in any environment. So, sometimes it happens. I just see a mistake and try to correct it, and then I just boom, like slam on my brother's face, and then say, okay, he's wrong, and as brother, I'm trying to correct him, but was it the right environment? Did he get it right? Did I break his heart? Maybe because of my attitude, he would never correct it again. So, I cannot say everything in any situation. I need to do a little bit follow up. What's the right time, right place, more effective. That problem.
So we didn't finish the paragraph.
It is, yeah, another topic. You can read if you want, because the topic is different. Maybe we can, if we have 20 minutes for Salah, we can discuss which topics we can discuss. Maybe you can suggest, shall we read that part, Tapiwa, for example?